Good morning. My name is Diego from the Hit Music Studio, and in this video, I would like to see if I can save you guys a little bit of money because I do believe that most piano method books are truly a waste of money. I actually to tell you guys a little bit, I guess, about my past. I don't think I have ever bought a piano book, and one of the things that is interesting is that we see every now and then students come from other schools and they have a bunch of books, and I see a lot of issues, which I'll cover some of them in this I guess in this video. And for me, one thing that I like to share with you guys is some options out there, because these books are not necessarily created for everyone, and there's like main reasons why I think they're a little bit like flawed. But I think it's important for you guys to have an idea of what are your options. So definitely, if you are in the summer, and we have a good amount of like students that they just started their summer, it's cool if you want to learn something new. But I definitely wouldn't go with the piano method books. So let me tell you, and I share this when we do presentations for schools. The reason number one is copyright. Now, what does copyright mean? Copyright means that when you write a song, the author of a song, which sometimes is not even the artist, you have to pay to use that song. So what happens when you want to put that song in a book is you have to pay the person. So songs that are popular right now, it would cost a good amount of money to take those songs and put them in a method book. And the majority of people that make books do not want to spend that money, because then it will complicate the amount that they need to charge for the books. So because of that, people that write the books usually write the songs. And that's why the songs have the really bizarre names, and names that you never heard, songs that don't really sound familiar. There's a thing in music, which I believe it's 100 years after a composer has passed away, the song becomes public domain, and then some pieces and works, because they were written so long ago, everyone can use them and you don't have to pay copyright for that. But I think we live in an era in which a lot of musicians, young musicians, want to learn music that is current. And part of the problem that I see with the books is you are going through this work. And I had a student a long time ago when I started teaching. I've been teaching for about 15 years now. When I started teaching, I remember a time that one of my students came with a book, I guess similar to this one, and he was playing a song for, I guess, from the end of, I think it was level 3 in that book. And the song was a challenging one. And I remember seeing him not only struggle to play the song and have to push to be able to do it, but at the end, I really felt bad for him, because I felt like, who wants to play that song? Like, who wants to play that piece and put the energy? Because it's once you arrive at, like, say, the finish line of the song, okay, you got it, you can play it. Do you want to play for your family? Do you want to play it for your Instagram? Do you want to play it for your friends? It's a little bit like, no, it doesn't sound that interesting, and no one knows what it is. So I think is reason number 2 that complicates this method books is that they have a lot of like classical influence. And one thing with classical influence is not everyone wants to play classical music. And I will be the first one, as the owner or director of the Hit Music Studio, to tell you guys, if you want to be a classical musician, if you want to be a concert pianist, we're probably not the school for you, because that's not who we believe we are. My background is into touring and into production, playing with artists and playing music that you will hear right now on the radio, on TV. So if someone comes to us and says, okay, I want to be a concert pianist, it's a little bit about being in similar like in the Olympics. You have to practice very differently to be a concert pianist. And you have to put a lot of emphasis in things that, as a professional musician on stage with Ariana Grande, that's going to be very different than if you're playing with a symphony orchestra. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to try to find books that truly can help you. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that at the end. But I guess the third problem that I see with the books is that they have lots of reading. They put a lot of emphasis on reading music. And this is definitely a personal opinion. And I definitely invite you guys to, I guess we can talk in the comments. I've been a professional musician for a long time. I've done all types of shows. I played in backyards, and I also played in major arenas. And one thing that is interesting is the majority of music jobs today, you don't have to read that much. So as an example, I work with an artist that has won Grammys and is very famous. And when I got to work with him, they gave me the music, and the music for the most part has chords, has structures, but it was not a full piano part. So if you work with an artist, let's say Katy Perry, sometimes the song is so new that by the time that you're learning it as a musician, what you're gonna get is a recording, because no one has written the chords, no one has written a piece of paper for it. So we do believe it's important to sight read and to be able to read music. But the emphasis that these methods bring to the equation, I think, is one of the reasons that most people quit. And I think it's sad because at the end of the day, the majority of people that quit piano and probably other instruments, I would say, I don't know, this is like a guess, but I would say 70 to 80% probably quit because they can't read the music. Not because they don't love the instrument, not because they're having a hard time playing. They're probably having a hard time playing. But more than a hard time playing, they're having a really hard time understanding the notation. And notation, I think, is literally like a code, and the code is hard to decipher. But at the same time, I think it's very important to be able to find things that work for you guys. So my recommendation to you, if you are interested in music that is current, is to put a good amount of emphasis on chords, on being able to play with a metronome or click track. So one of the things that happens today is the majority of artists are playing with computers. And one of the things that we see a lot with young musicians, playing with the metronome takes a little bit of discipline. But at the same time, if you can play very, very stable, once you get to a certain level of professionalism, almost everyone is going to be running some type of device to keep the band really playing the songs at the speed that they go. So while method books can be interesting and can be something that you may add to what you're trying to learn, I definitely don't think that method books are the way to go. Our method books are designed in a way in which we put things that we consider valuable, like scales, like chords, like reading music, doing small practices of sight reading. But at the same time, we don't really put the songs because the songs are always changing. So for us, if someone wants to learn the song that is right now number one, that song in 6 months, maybe no one's going to want to learn it because it's not current anymore. So I don't believe, and I definitely want to encourage you guys to not necessarily spend your money on piano method books. And one other thing, and I think this is also something that I mention sometimes to the parents, it's very cool that when you're looking at music, there's multiple almost like codes. One is at the top of the music, it may say piano, voice, guitar, and that can be complicated because one of the things that sometimes papers are sometimes designed by people that are transcribing them, that's writing them on making sure that they're notated correctly. It may be a reduction of the part. So let's say you like Old Town Road, and let's say you want to be able to play the guitar part. Well, sometimes you're going to find a paper that is not necessarily going to have the guitar part, but it's going to have something that sounds like it for the piano player to play it. And if the reason that you wanted to buy a book was to be able to play the actual guitar part, the actual piano part, sometimes the parts that you find in books are reductions. They're almost like simplifications and alterations of the original part. So if you see a book that on the top it says piano, voice, guitar, that may not be what you need. I have found in my experience that most students have a really hard time playing those type of works. There are a lot of pages and they tend to also just be a little bit confusing. So one tip that I have for you guys, if you're going to buy a book, probably look for the word easy piano, easy guitar, because those sometimes the people that put them together do simplify them in a way to get you guys to be able to play it. So we have a question here for Jeannie, which asks, which book do I think is the best one, especially if you have no teacher and you stop piano? Well, that's a great question. I would recommend Hanon. There's a book called Hanon Schwann, and I wish I had it here in this room, but I have it back in the office. But you should be able to Google it. Hanon Xuan is a series of exercises that are really, really functional to be able to play them. And I think with books, there's a couple of books that we definitely recommend, because one thing that those do is stabilize your playing, give you control. Hand-on is something that I keep on trying to do as much as I can. And I think I have some students that are a little bit like, oh, I did that. I already did that. And it's like you never get graduated from it, because an athlete, an athlete goes to the gym. An athlete goes to the gym and maybe lift weights, even if they play soccer. And it's about being in shape for them, not necessarily because that's part of the game. I think the same thing as musicians, we need to find ways of keeping our mechanics up. And I think that can definitely be a part of the process. So with Genie, I'm trying to think of like what other books do I recommend. One thing that I like, and you can get for reading, very easy, classical piano books. So you can put a metronome on and try to read them. So one thing that I like to do, and these books for that do work somewhat. If you are, let's say, in level 2 and level 3, you can get books that are almost level 1, and then try to put a metronome on, maybe do one hand at a time, and then just practice reading songs with no practice, like with no prior preparation. So you just put the song up and try to see if you can figure out, because we do want you guys to be able to read. I think as a music school, we do believe in getting you guys trained properly. So it's not about, oh, don't read music. No, reading music is incredibly important, but at the same time, we do believe that it's cool if you guys can get some practice. And I think on that tip specifically, one thing that I see with a lot of students is this: people want you to practice sight reading, but they want to practice sight readings with something that is about the level that you can play. And I definitely think that that's a mistake. You need to practice sight reading with things that are below your level. So that means that if you're in level 3, you should be practicing sight reading things that are level 1, maybe level 2, because that allows your mind to, okay, almost this is manageable. I think sight reading, when you put a metronome on and try to play something without any practice, it's a higher level thing. So you definitely want some time to do that. So definitely with Genie, I'll think about a couple of more books. Hanon is one of my favorites, and I have definitely used that for many years. I think Easy Piano is a good way to go. By the way, and this is, I guess, probably the best recommendation that I have. There's a website called musicnotes.com. It's a pretty extraordinary website because it has literally tons and tons of material. And there, usually, if you look for a song, they have multiple versions. So they have an easy one, they have I guess a more advanced one, they have the reductions. So I wouldn't be buying necessarily books, because if you buy a book from Bruno Mars and it has 20 songs, chances are you're going to play one or two. So I think in musicnotes.com, it's a little bit easier to purchase the song that you like. The songs are very inexpensive. I think it's between $3.99 and maybe $6.99 for a song. Sometimes there are a little bit too many pages. I don't particularly like that. My background into production, into touring, you don't want a musician trying to wrestle 6-7 pages on stage. So their transcriptions tend to be, a good amount of pages, sometimes 10-12 pages. But they're very accurate into what they do, and they can give you, I think you can also purchase a PDF. You can print it at your house. So definitely, I think Hanon, learning probably your scales and arpeggios, which we're trying to put some videos for that. And hopefully that works. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. We're definitely here to help. Let me know in the comments if you have a book that you love. I have seen tons of books. And let me finish with this story. When I started teaching, I went to Samash, the first student that I ever had, and for the longest time, I was trying to stay out of teaching because I wanted to just play with artists and do more of studio work. And the first time that I accepted a student, I went to Samash. There's a Samash in Miami Lakes that has a really big sheet music department, and it's tons and tons of books. I spent about 2 hours looking at books, and I didn't come across something that I felt was what I wanted to teach. And to this day, I see a lot of lack in books, especially for the music that is current. So we are, as a music school, trying to create our own online courses, and that's something that is going to come in the future, because we're trying to prepare you guys to be able to play the music that you like today. And I do believe that there's almost like a gap between the stuff that you learn on, let's say, on your method book compared to what's being played on the Katy Perry album. And I think it's, as with anything, it's a skill. We can definitely prepare you for it, but hopefully soon we'll have like some stuff that we can offer you guys so you can learn on your own, especially as with someone like Jeannie, you don't have a teacher anymore, so you can definitely follow those online courses. So let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. We're here to help. So my recommendations, if you do want to purchase some stuff, Hanon Xuan is a reduction from the real Hanon. Hanon is spelled Hanon, and that's the last name of the guy that invented it. 60 exercises. Hanon Xuan is a reduction. I think it's about 20 or 30 of them, but they are great. It's not about reading them, but it's about playing them. And definitely check out musicnotes.com. Really cool website with tons of material that you guys can learn. So we'll see you guys soon. Take care.